What would your 10-year-old self think about your present self? Well, I don't think he would recognize me. Looking back, there are signs of me not being comfortable with my own gender. I was definitely more sheltered than other kids. I can hold a smile, but deep down, does anything matter? Marina Flora Faye, 25 years old, Timonan, Quezon. The hump of difficulty was definitely childhood. I was bullied and easily made to cry by my elementary and high school classmates. It pushed me to not trust people as much as I should, especially strangers, classmates, people that make fun of me. It's a harsh thing to say, but even my family back then, they did make me cry. Worst criticism is definitely being called clustered in my efforts. I'm too indecisive, which I will admit I am, but it's more the fact that the path sometimes just doesn't feel right, so I should divert from it. But to other people, that seems like not knowing really what I want. My coming out wasn't really a good one because during college, before my second girlfriend, I was again already questioning it. Then during the time I was with my girlfriend, I started to be more feminine, letting my hair grow, and eventually I did tell her, but she didn't really appreciate. Looking back, I can't really expect anyone to understand. It's not necessarily them being, you know, misunderstanding. It's honestly very confusing. Like, why would I think that? How could I just change in a day? But what people don't know is you don't change in a day. It takes time to change. And at that time, I felt confident to tell him that I am changing, which he didn't really understand. First, I was questioning my gender. Then I kind of tried to strive for being a man, but then I questioned my sexuality. And from that, I went back to questioning my gender and not necessarily chose it, it just felt right. One day, I'm a girl. No, it's one day, I'm already there. Gender and sexuality are different. I can be female, I can be a man, I can be something in between. That is my gender. Sexuality is who I'm attracted to. And I am attracted to personality, really. It doesn't matter if you're male, female, if you don't consider yourself male or female, as long as I like your personality, I like you. My mom at first, she was just confused, not really understanding why this is happening, why I chose to be like this. She didn't really understand the concept of transgender. Looking back, there are signs of it, of me not being comfortable with my own gender. I remember one time when me and my mom went to the mall and she was like having a heartfelt talk with me about why I'm not really doing good at school. And I mentioned to her briefly that I feel like I wouldn't really have much problem with bullying and learning if I was a girl. And she was like very confused why I even said that. Deep in my mind back then, I always thought that I feel like my problems wouldn't be there in the first place or that harsh if I was the opposite gender. My dad, on the other hand, like I told him, Dad, I'm your daughter now. I'm a woman. Like, okay, that's it. My dad is a man of few emotions. He didn't really bat an eye in a good way. I don't think so. I feel like there's a lot more my parents could have taught me. Admittedly, I didn't want to learn and I didn't learn easily if I was taught, but I was definitely more sheltered than other kids. didn't really get to look for trouble in my own way. I was just go to school, go back home, play with my neighbors. That's it. That was my life. My parents had contacts through everyone and anyone, but that just meant like I was protected even without their supervision. But back there, like everyone was friendly, everyone knew each other. I didn't really taste real freedom till college. Being alone, metaphorically, in my 8-person dorm room made me a bit more aware of the bigger world out there. And it made me realize that not everyone has a good heart out there. Most difficult challenge. It's definitely going through my phase of self-harm. It's not easy, and admittedly, if I was left alone back then, a lot worse could have happened. Thankfully, my family was there. They just put me back on my feet. These days, there's not really many people bullying me. It's more of myself that makes me cry. It's more of myself that can't hold the emotion and tears. I feel like now I am more in touch with my emotions. Anger, sorrow, it's more intense now. And I understand why it's more intense now rather than just being a crying child. Some emotions are there to get me through times. Why this action somebody did to me made me feel this way. And with that, I know how to cope with it. I know how to calm myself down. I like being alone. Listening to music alone while drinking tea. Necessarily social, but it can be, but I prefer it not to be. Definitely made me more independent. Feeling like everyone has a vendetta against me pushed me towards being independent. I wouldn't say that's a healthy way, but it's where it got me. I'm spoiled for choice nowadays, because my husband compliments me every day, really. First time we met, he told me that I was beautiful, the first thing he said, but there was this sadness in my eyes. There was a smile on my lips, but a sadness in my eyes, and that made him curious about me. I'm not sure why. I'm just nihilistic to a point. Maybe I do believe in optimistic nihilism, so that's the two parts of it. I can hold a smile, but deep down, does anything matter? There isn't a meaning of life to me. There isn't really meaning given to us from God or people around us. It's what we do with our time here on earth that makes it meaningful. It's spending time with the people that you love, even just experiencing the things that you enjoy. We don't really get much of a choice of meaning. That's up to you, but you can always be optimistic about it. Find the beauty and the good on this earth and even provide it. Is the lack of meaning. It's not being sad about anything, it's the lack of a point to anything. There isn't really much of a point to being alive. We were born of this earth because our parents decided to. It's never really our choice. And it's not a healthy coping mechanism, nihilism itself, but putting it next to optimism makes you a good person when there's not really a payout. You just be a good person. Realize much earlier that you'll be fine. However hard the situation might be, you'll be fine in the end. There's what I tell my friends now when they try to comfort me, I'll be okay. I'll always be okay.